Away from imperial palaces and public spectacles, everyday Roman life unfolded mainly in the streets. At the center of this daily rhythm stood the tavern. These places, ranging from basic food stalls to small inns, were essential social hubs for ordinary people: plebeians, craftsmen, slaves, and soldiers. In Latin, the word taberna originally referred broadly to any shop or workspace. Over time, however, the Romans developed more precise terms to describe establishments that sold food and drink. Each type differed in atmosphere, cost, and typical customers, offering valuable insight into daily urban life and the social divisions of the empire. The most widespread of these venues was the popina, comparable to a modest bar or popular snack shop. These places were frequented mainly by the lower classes of society who did not have their own kitchens at home, which was quite common in large cities since many people lived in small apartments with no space for cooking. In the popin, quick and cheap food was served, such as sausages, lentils, bread and cheese along with wine. They were modest environments with few benches or tables, and often the customer ate standing up. More than just places to eat, the popine were meeting points, places for conversation, and even dice games. But they were also known for being poorly regarded by the elite, associated with drunkenness, prostitution, and petty crime. Another very popular type was the thermopolium, which we can compare to a Roman fast food joint. The name literally means place where hot things are sold, and these establishments were easily recognized by their L-shaped counters with large clay jars embedded in them called dolia, which kept food and drinks warm. Archaeologists have discovered many thermopolia in Pompeii and Herculaneum, and in them it is still possible to see the decorated counters and even preserved food remains. These places were extremely practical. The customer arrived, chose the ready-made food, and was served quickly in a setup very similar to today's fast food restaurants. There was also the copona, which stood out for being more sophisticated. Unlike the popina and the thermopolium, which were aimed above all at quick meals, the copona offered food, drink, and also lodging. It was therefore a kind of inn or tavern with rooms designed for travelers who needed to rest after covering long distances on the Roman roads. In these more complete taverns, the environment was more structured with simple but functional rooms and a hall where customers could eat and drink more calmly. Finally, in a stricter sense, the word taberner could refer specifically to an establishment dedicated to selling wine in bulk. Wine was the most widely consumed drink in the Roman world, present in all social classes, though in very different qualities and prices. In these taverns, customers could buy wine directly from barrels or amphit. Taverns were found in practically every town and village, serving as indispensable meeting points for a large part of the population. On the other hand, they were often viewed with disdain by the elite who associated them with behavior considered immoral. This duality reveals a great deal about Rome's social differences and about how different groups lived and related to one another. For the upper class, going to a tavern was considered something vulgar. Writers and poets, such as Horace and Juvenal, did not hide their moralistic criticism of these places, describing them as environments of drunkenness, promiscuity, and gambling. In the eyes of senators and aristocrats, true socializing was supposed to take place at private banquets held in the luxurious houses of the patricians. At these gatherings, refined dishes were served, philosophy, politics, and literature were discussed, and an image of prestige and sophistication was cultivated. Thus, taverns were seen as something belonging to the lower classes, a reflection of what the elite rejected and at the same time feared. However, for the common people, the reality was completely different. Many people lived in insole apartment buildings that did not have kitchens. So taverns became true collective dining halls essential for the survival of a large part of the population. But they were much more than simple places to eat. Taverns functioned as social hubs. There people could make friends, play dice, talk about everyday life, and even form alliances and plot. The atmosphere was noisy, full of life in contrast to the formal silence of aristocratic banquets. In addition, they were important points for the exchange of information. In a world without newspapers or mass media, news spread quickly in these spaces. News about politics, rumors of wars, city gossip, or even reports of crimes were shared in taverns. The social role of taverns also shows how they worked as a kind of safety valve for the tensions of urban life. A worker who spent the day doing heavy labor could find there a place to relax, drink, talk, and unwind. At the same time, this reinforced the elite's negative view, which saw these environments as a threat to moral and political order. Even so, taverns continue to thrive because they met a real need, and because they offered the people a space where they could feel part of a community. Much of what we know today about Roman taverns does not come only from ancient texts, but above all from archaeological discoveries, which allow us to observe the daily life of the common people up close. The cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum are the main sources of information, since they were preserved in an almost unique way. Their archaeologists found not only physical structures, but also objects, paintings, and even inscriptions that reveal fascinating details about life inside these establishments. In Pompeii, more than 150 thermopolia have been identified, which shows the enormous importance of these taverns in the city's daily life. One of the most impressive examples is the Thermopolium of Rayo 5, discovered in an excellent state of preservation. Its L-shaped counter still preserves the colorful paintings that decorated it, depicting animals and scenes related to food. In the recessed holes of the counter, the dolia are still there, the clay jars used to store and keep food warm. In some establishments, archaeologists even found coins on the counter, which suggests that customers and owners fled in a hurry at the moment of the eruption, leaving everything behind. This scene, frozen in time, almost allows us to step into a Roman tavern and imagine the bustle abruptly interrupted by the catastrophe. Another treasure revealed by archaeology is the graffiti on tavern walls. These informal scribbles made by the patrons themselves are an invaluable source because they offer an authentic popular view, very different from the negative image described by elite authors such as Juvenal and Horace. On the walls, archaeologists found everything from tallies, probably records of consumption or debts, to complaints about the quality of the wine. Little love poems, personal declarations, and even insults against rivals. There are also inscriptions describing rules for dice games and humorous phrases that reveal the relaxed spirit of the customers. This graffiti shows that taverns were spaces full of life where ordinary people expressed themselves freely, leaving records of their emotions, problems, and joys. There is evidence that some of these structures functioned as distribution points for free grain to the public, part of the measures adopted by the authorities to keep the population satisfied and avoid revolts. This kind of practice, known as the annona, was vital for social balance, since many city dwellers depended on state grain supplies to survive. Thus, taverns could serve as places where the administration connected directly with the people, reinforcing bonds of dependence and at the same time guaranteeing a basic food support network. For many individuals, especially former slaves who gained their freedom, these establishments offered a unique opportunity for social advancement. Although in Roman culture the profession of merchant was not considered noble, trade was a practical and accessible way to secure income and stability. Freedmen who could not attain high political office because of the legal restrictions of their status found in trade and in running taverns a path to achieving financial independence. Running a tavern allowed these freed men to deal with customers on a daily basis, build contacts, and accumulate wealth. Some even managed to build real business networks, expanding into other areas of urban trade. But tell me in the comments whether you would be a daily patron of a Roman tavern. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to our channel.